Hey.
So do tell us now that we know you have beautiful nipple piercings.
Yes.
Tell us your story about how you got your clit pierced since we just found that out.
Okay. So, well, I really wanted my clit pierced for years. And by clit piercing, I mean like a clit hood piercing. So it's actually like such a simple piercing. And so what happened is I chickened out on getting it done. And then I decided to pierce my nipples instead. So then that turned into, it was like really painful. It took a while to recover. So about 6 months later, I decided to do my clit piercing. And it's actually like the easiest piercing I've ever done. I've pierced my ears myself in a couple places, and the clit piercing was way easier. It's just like a little pop and it heals within a couple weeks. Like it seriously was like a pinch, and that's all I ever felt. And so it healed so fast, and it's just through a little piece of skin that's like the clitoral hood. So it's not through your clit where you have all the feeling, even though I was like scared of it, like being messed up somehow. It was a pretty like irrational fear, and I got really nervous and chickened out at the first time, but I'm really glad I did it.
Okay, so tell us about sensation wise, both nipple and clit. What is the difference there for people who don't know?
Well, having my nipples pierced, like I was never that big into nipple play as far as like for sexual pleasure. But as soon as I got my nipples pierced, it's like my nipples connected to my clit. So like nipple play became extremely pleasurable, and it felt like almost like if you licked my nipple, it would feel like my clit was being licked almost. So it definitely increased my pleasure.
I've heard that actually. I think from multiple people that's the case.
I love it.
Which is incredibly interesting how the body is connected and the nerve endings.
Agreed. It's so cool. And then for me, like getting my clit piercing it really improved my sex life overall. Like it just made it so it's a lot easier for me to self-stimulate and come with my own fingers, or even just it just made it easier for me to come in general. Like it was really hard for me for a long time. So like it has increased my pleasure all the way around.
See, now that's interesting. So clitoral stimulation wasn't mainly your thing before that.
Actually, it was. So that was like the main way I could come before, but like before my piercing, it just like took longer. So now
so it's increased.
Yeah, it's like the motion is just a little bit more concentrated, and so I get a little more intense pleasure.
Oh, that's nice, because I love clitoral. Like anything clitoral stimulation, I'm absolutely in.
I do too.
100%. So my story is that when I got my nipples pierced before, I was also going to get a clitoral as well. And then when the guy looked at it, he was like, yeah, I don't know if I can do this. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, it's too small. He's like, I think if I do this, he's like, I'm afraid I'm gonna hurt you. And he's like, and I don't want to be that person. And I was like, oh, Jesus.
Dang. Oh, that's so hard.
So I don't know if I should go to another professional, get like a second opinion and see if that's actually the case. I'm not saying it's not, because I always hear from directors and other people like, wow, you really have a small vagina. So they could be right. I don't know. It's not like I'm going to ask my gynecologist, like, hey, do you think my clit's too small for a period? And he might be like, what are you talking about? But that was my experience. So I don't.
That's an interesting experience. I was afraid I might be too small and then it would be too hard. But when I got mine pierced, the piercer was like, it's super easy. He basically was like, if you can fit like the tip of a Q-tip under the hood, then there's enough skin to like pierced, because it's really just the skin.
I'm like,
so maybe it's worth a try.
I might get a second opinion and be like, is it or isn't it?
That's right. That would be amazing. I hope I answered.
Yes, and those, of course, there's tons of people who are, if they're interested or not interested, it's always something good to find out. You just never know.
Yeah, I'm really happy I've done it like both my nipples and my clit piercings. Like they both have been great for my life.
See, I love it. Anything to enhance or accentuate, I'm all into. Absolutely. So
Agree.
for everybody else, obviously, who does not know your backstory, how did you get into the industry?
I actually got my industry start with SCORE. I was modeling, doing like nude and erotic modeling for private photographers, and I had a model mayhem profile. I actually still have it, but I was modeling, and SCORE contacted me and asked me to shoot for them, and I turned them down once because I didn't really want to be in the industry. At the time, I was Mormon and wanted to like stay good, I guess. And then like a year later, they asked me again, and I just was like, I'm going to get older, and I don't want to be this grandma that says, oh, I used to be so hot that this porn company wanted to shoot me. I really was like, I might as well be the grandma who's been in a porno and at least have like pictures and video to show for it. So I agreed to shoot for them, and I just had like the funnest time. It like, I was just left wanting more. So at the time I lived in Utah, and I looked around. I actually tried to get an agent. I had a couple of agencies that were going to sign me, but it didn't work for me logistically to travel to California all the time. So I then just started producing my own videos. So I've been shooting a lot. I've been shooting and producing since 6 or 7 years ago. I have a ManyVids account. I started in Clips for Sale, and then now I have my own site and OnlyFans, of course. But it mostly started with like one big studio shoot, and then I've shot for them a few times, and then shot for more companies over the years. And then I've lived in California for the last 4 years, so it gives me a nice chance to work with lots of people close by me.
I think that's amazing. So what do you think is your most popular thing that you do then for your fans? Because everybody I think has their like the little niche, or throughout the years they change things up. So it's always interesting to see, especially it's like if you're well endowed, usually it's your endowments, or some people you find out like, oh, I started trying this, and they're like, my fans freaking love it, and you're like, really? And you're like, yeah, and I'm like, wow, okay.
I love that. My fans, like, I don't think I have anything specific to me, although definitely big boobs.
Yes, of course.
So besides that, it's like big boobs. I'm very much like MILF next door, and then like my boy girl performances are my most popular for obvious reasons. It's nice to watch somebody get that.
Of course.
So yeah, I don't know. Like some people have like really specific stuff. I'm very much MILF next door. So probably like I'd say a lot of like the stepmom stuff is becoming really popular for me. Like that's stepmom, and I'm good at role plays. So I like doing fun skits and just playing around with like the fantasy, like cheesy aspect of porn. So yeah.
See, I think that's great. I mean, that's part of the fantasy, bringing things to life for your fans or for yourself, or being able to act out both. And I just think that's part of the thrill of it, really, being able to do those things that you can't do really in normal life per se. I mean, not necessarily, some people maybe in your personal life you may be able to do, but that's not really the norm. Like you meet someone, go on a date, like, you know what, hey baby, I want to be your stepmom, and you're like, what?
Yeah, I feel like the role plays are some of my funnest things. That's why I like exploring those like really cheesy storylines, or like your standard silly plot that then you can just take to another level. Like some of my best and favorite performances have been with a male performer who can take that role play to another level, where throughout the scene you're making little jokes about like, for instance, one of my favorites was I did this like realtor role play in Las Vegas, and like through the whole thing, my male performer was just making funny jokes about like, is this going to close the sale? Am I going to get like, does this mean I get the house? And like, are you going to give me a good deal? It was just great. So I like that part of it a lot. Like just having fun and getting to like be silly in that part.
I think that's always fun when in regards to role play like that, or it's always like the cheesy part, like, we got to keep this a secret, right? You can't tell anyone. You promise if we do this, it's the last time. You're like, totally the last time. Absolutely.
Never gonna do this again. Promise you
never gonna happen again. And then there's like a sequel, and it's like, this happened last time, right? But it's totally the last time. 100% the last time. Yep, last time. Never gonna happen again. It's like, damn
it. That's right. I love it.
And I think that's the fun part that you get to bring to the screen and to your fans, where you're reenacting the most ridiculous things that would most likely never happen in real life. But that's the fun part about fantasy, that you get to do these things, but extremely dramatic or comedic, and obviously it involves sex, but it's just funny and silly to kind of break out of that reality of the mundane part of aspect of life and bring this to your fans and to people, and then people get to watch you do these things. So I think it's fantastic.
Thank you.
So has there ever been a weird thing that your fans have asked you to do, like if it's a custom or requested of you and you're like, ooh, yeah, what, I don't know about that.
I've definitely I've had some weird requests. I haven't ever had anything that I refuse to do. I've never had like the more taboo requests. Like some are just not acceptable on even sites, where it's hard to tap into those things. But let me think about this. I've had let's see. So for example, I have one guy who loves to order custom videos, and he likes fisting a lot. So I wouldn't say that that's very common, but it's actually pretty cool, and I enjoy doing that. So it's like, you don't see a ton of like fisting. Let me see what else. I've had some silly. I'm a pretty good 30 talker, and I follow directions really well. So like some people have asked for some pretty ridiculous like things to be said. And let me think.
I think fisting's actually a great subject. So a lot of people, whether they watch fisting or not, if you have never been fisted before, or if you haven't fisted yourself, it is not the easiest thing to do originally. You kind of have to work up to it, at least someone like myself or yourself has to.
And
people don't realize, you just don't go whoop, and there you have it. Just because we can make baby doesn't mean that you just pop one out the next day, okay?
Like you can get really hurt if you try to fist like without training, I guess. Like a dick is definitely a different shape than a fist, and really fisting is not like a fist. So it's not like you're gonna punch. It's like you want to fit it.
I feel like people think that you're punching yourself in your vagina, in your canal or something. Like they just want like, no.
It's like, dude, I should start an educational site. I swear, I really do think that we all need this in our lives, because it is simple things like you say fisting and people think they know what it is, and it sounds easy, and actually it looks easy in porn, but there's a reason why it's not done as often.
Leave it to professionals before someone hurts themselves. It's like when people try to put like their whole fist in their mouth and then it gets stuck. It's like, just please.
That's hilarious.
But I think people don't realize like what's actually involved in fisting. Like you don't just normally just go in the first time as a novice and like, I got this. And like, no,
Agreed. You know, how do I think about this? I think it's just like I've spent a lot of time webcamming. So I, for a long time, I was using dildos and just playing with myself almost every single day. And so during that time, it was really easy for me to do fisting and stuff like that, squirting too. In fact, like that's one of my more popular things is squirting videos. Not everybody can squirt. So
it's true, but you can train yourself to squirt.
I love it. And, you know, I learned how to squirt at a really young age I was 19 when I first did it. And it was a surprise and scary for me. I was like, oh no, it was terrible. I was like so embarrassed, but like, it was fine. My partner was like, oh, it's so cool. He totally was into it and it turned out great. But, you know, squirting is another thing like that. You can train yourself, but it doesn't always just happen automatically. So
true.
It's good to explore.
Because at first you're like, what is this? Did I pee on myself? Like, why am I wetter than usual? What is happening?
Right. Or it feels like you're going to pee.
Yes, exactly. It does. It feels like you're going to pee and you're just like, oh my God, what is going on? So it's a very interesting concept for a lot of people who don't know, or if you're just learning. Because I didn't do that until later because I had no idea what it was. Like, what is this sensation?
Yeah. Well, again, I was so lucky that my partner was into it because he was very encouraging. Like, I was 19, so this was a long time ago. We didn't have porn on the internet. It was like, God, I lived in Utah, so like even regular porn was hard to get. You had to go to like Wyoming or Nevada to get a porn video or something. So like I didn't ever see anybody do it before I had done it. And if it wasn't for my partner saying like, yeah, you're totally cool and it's hot, I would have been freaked out.
Yep, sorry, there you go.
No worries.
I was making sure if it was working. I was like, wait a second. I think that's funny too that you mentioned being in Utah and you couldn't get your hands on porn at the time. And you think about it there, especially because you're saying Utah and that you're Mormon, what was that like too? Like that's a whole interesting, you know, I've heard other people with similar backgrounds as well. That's always just an interesting aspect in and of its own, going from that
it is, you
to
know,
what we do now.
It's very difficult. So when I first started in porn, I was still like an active Mormon, and I thought my first time it would be like a one and done. That I really thought that, where I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go out, I'm gonna go have this experience, and then I'm gonna come back and pretend like it never happened.
I'm just gonna sow some oats, you know.
Yeah, I didn't know how fun it would be, or even like it just felt like this great experience, the whole thing. Like there was nothing negative about it for me. So like my church had told me I'm going to hell and I should feel terrible about it, but I made like a very conscious choice to like sow those wild oats, and then I really liked doing it, and it felt like something I wanted to do more. And so I was already like on the path outside of being in the church. In fact, I'll tell you this, I haven't talked about like how I was raised very much in interviews, because I was in the church still, or because I still had family who I hadn't told what I did, or even that I wasn't in the church anymore. And so it's actually been a really big part of my process in like learning how to accept myself. It's like learning to let go of the old way of thinking completely. Like it's really difficult to let go of this idea that somebody has told you you're going to hell for what you're doing. So,
oh, absolutely. People don't realize it, whether someone else tells you or even yourself, or a combination thereof, where you can feel shame and guilt or even certain aspects, even still today, even if it's 6 years, a decade later, that it might still come back and you might still feel that way about certain things that you do in your career. And people don't realize that because of how you're raised.
Yeah. So because of the way I was raised and because of the religion is such a big part of everything that you do. So when you leave the religion, you leave family behind and friends behind who choose to reject you because you've left. So I just added another layer where I was like, oh, you can reject me for this. Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes, and I've had something kind of similar. Sometimes people will learn in their own way, I guess you could say, to kind of accept you later. And it's not per se an acceptance. They'll still love you, but they don't accept what you do. They're just hoping one day you'll change what you do.
Well,
and we'll pray for you to change your career, but we love you. We just don't accept your sin.
Well, I don't think I've experienced basically either people removing themselves from my life or me having to remove people from my life who just didn't fit anymore. And a couple of years ago, it was in 2020. I was thinking, I still didn't have an Instagram account in 2020. And I remember that was like a really deciding moment for me. I knew Instagram and now TikTok more than anything. They try to notify your friends and family or try to get you to add your contacts and things like that. So I thought, I bet my family will probably see me if I'm on Instagram. And I just was like, fuck it. I don't care anymore. Like, I'm tired of trying to hide. In fact, it's hurting me to hide from them. They're so insignificant in my daily life. I don't care if they see me online. At this point, it's just it's all just a blur. People who don't participate in my life and love me for who I am don't need to participate.
I think that's a good segment to roll in real quick, because then we can wrap it up. Is that self-acceptance is so important, I think, in regards to the way that you are grown up, and then when people ostracize you and they don't accept you for who you are or what you do, I think self-acceptance is very important, because if you don't accept yourself and be confident in who you are and learn to kind of navigate through those waters, it can be very, very difficult.
Totally. No.
So have you learned to do that for yourself?
Like, you can't, like, you have to give it to yourself first before you can ever really experience other people fully accepting and loving you for who you are. And in this industry, it's an easy place to get lost if you are worried about other people a lot. But if you focus on yourself and love yourself and forgive yourself, I think that's the last part, but just forgive yourself and love yourself, because we all make mistakes and we're all just faking it till we make it.
It's so true. Sometimes, whether you're naturally confident or not, there are always days where you will lack confidence, or, everyone has a bad day and a good day. And I think there's always tips and tricks to where sometimes you just kind of have to take a moment for yourself, whether it's meditation, or breathing, or being, you know what, I've got this. Today is that day, but tomorrow is another day or another hour. You'll get through it.
Yes,
you just
absolutely.
keep moving forward. Is there little things that you do that help you during those moments too? Because we all have those, especially in this industry, I think.
Yes. So I would say, I describe it as days that I have above the line or below the line. So I struggle with, I have complex PTSD, which is basically it's PTSD, but it's from long-term abuse. So continual traumatic events. And so I have to try really hard and focus really hard on doing those things every day for myself. And those things are, I work really hard to regulate my sleep. I try to get sunshine every single day. And then I move my body every day. So usually I try to exercise, but if I can't like do a hard exercise. I'll go on walks just to get my body moving. So like if I do those 3 things every single day, I know that I can live above the line of like the struggle of depression or living with the anxiety and symptoms that can overwhelm me. If I like, so I have to work at it really hard, and I concentrate on those things a lot.
Absolutely. And it definitely can be a struggle. And I think that's wonderful just to share those little things, because whether you're in the industry or not, I think there's a lot of people that struggle with that. And I think that is wonderful. So everyone, you heard it from Cameron Skye first, and she has a beautiful smile. So where can people find you, Cameron, so that people, whether they want to see your amazing things you have to offer, or if they want to chat with you on OnlyFans or your website, where can they find you?
If you want to chat with me, you can find me on OnlyFans, and that's onlyfans.com/Cameron_Skye with an E. And then on my website is CameronSkye.com. And then I also have all my socials, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and I'm Cameron_Skye1.
Well, the beautiful Cameron Skye, everyone. Thank you so much. You. And thank you for sharing that. I feel like there's a part 2 in the future. I feel like we just got the tip of the iceberg right there.
Maybe.
I think we did. I think we totally did. I feel like there's so much more to go through. So we would love to have you back, Cameron.
Thank you. I'd love to come back. Thanks for having me.